So you may know this about the historical Buddha and those monastics and lay people that carried on his tradition after his passing. I think there was a lot of engineers in that group, because boy, they loved their maps and diagrams and lists and charts. I didn't bring out the whiteboard today, because, I'm taking it easy. But rest assured, you could just imagine a whiteboard covered in diagrams. So the basic question of what is a human being? What are you? What are you made of? What am I made of? What are human beings made of? You may have heard the ancient chant, head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Okay, that's one way of encapsulating what a human is. People like Sigmund Freud posited, id, ego, and superego, and years and years and years and years of neurosis and trauma. Sure. But labels and concepts and words generally are only as valuable as what they convey. And whoever is using them always has an agenda, always is trying to leverage the sense, the logic of the words and the concepts and the maps for a purpose. The historical Buddha many, many times said again and again, I only teach one thing, suffering and its end. So when the Buddha gives a map of what it makes a human being, remember, that's what he's aiming for. He's aiming for the end of suffering. Everything that came from the Blessed One's mouth is medicine to help us, to help cure our addiction, our problem with suffering. So the Buddha taught a way of conceptualizing human being that he liked to call the 5 skandhas. Skandha is an ancient Pali word, or khandha is an ancient Pali word that gets translated as piles or heaps. And again, this is evocative of a certain, he's trying to disenchant us with ourselves. It's like, oh, humans are so wonderful. Yeah, they're made of 5 piles of stuff, 5 heaps. And the 5 heaps are form, including our body, every material part of our body, every cell, every organ. And really, this category of form includes every material thing in the universe. Anything you hear, anything you see, etc., etc., etc. Anything solid like that. That's the one physical part of this 5-part scheme. The remaining 4 are psychological, mental, emotional. Feeling, but specifically the feeling tone of an event. Like when you taste something, you know if you like it or not, right? Or maybe you don't, and you're like, I don't know if I like this or not. So these are the 3 feelings that the Buddha liked to talk about. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neither. Okay. The third on our list is perception, the sensing and recognition process for experience. The fourth is mental formations, including thoughts, intention, volition, narratives, emotion. It's like the big grab bag. The Buddha's like, yeah, all that stuff. Concepts, choices, how we engage in the world. But really a big part is volition. Because we generally look at the world, I see something, I see someone's pistachio latte. I go, oh. So I just went from form to feeling, to perception, to volition. I'm going to take your pistachio latte. And then I act on the world, for better and for worse. And then finally, the 5th of the 5 skandhas, consciousness. Just the simple knowing, which always has an object. So the Buddha had this really kind of genius insight. Generally speaking, in the West, we have a scientific materialist view of the world, which is based on real things that persist even when you're not in the room. So right now I'm ringing this bell, right? The only people who can hear this bell have an ear and a way of apprehending it through the ear. And we're in proximity to the bell. So these three things arise together. There are people outside, they didn't hear the bell. They have ears, they have hearing, why didn't they hear it? Well, they weren't close enough, they weren't in proximity. If someone on the sidewalk asks their buddy, hey, is there a bell in that church? Well, probably, but you don't know until you hear it. This is where we get that ancient koan. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Absolutely impossible to say yes or no. Because until you make contact, you don't know. And this is, again, the Buddha leveraging his conceptualization of what a human is to really center experience, because that's the Buddha's whole game, right? Suffering is an experience. Ow, I don't like that. I'm doing something. There's something wrong. It should bring my attention to what's going on. So, there you go. These are the 5 skandhas. Tim's teacher, Son San, taught this about the skandhas. Originally, these 5 skandhas function nicely in harmony, and our life is clear, and we do not make so much suffering for ourselves and others. But when they're out of balance, we get suffering automatically. When we don't understand that all things, including our skandhas and the objects of the skandhas, are impermanent, then we easily get attached to things that all are already passing, arising and passing, arising and passing, arising and passing. As a result, we cannot take away our suffering, and we only continue to make more suffering for ourselves and this world. Zen Master Son San makes an analogy about a cup. He says, here's a cup of orange juice. If you have cup, then you can put orange juice in it. But if cup breaks or there's no cup, how can the orange juice remain in the cup? You cannot keep the juice here, yeah? Suffering is the same as that. Where does suffering abide? Suffering abides where attachment makes a container. If you are attached to the 5 skandhas of form, feeling, perceptions, volitions, and consciousness, then suffering will have a place to stay. So this is where the rubber meets the road part of the skandhas. The Buddha isn't interested in making an accurate or scientifically defensible model or map of a human. The Buddha wants to look at, where do I make suffering for myself? Where do I attach? Where do I cling or push away? Where do I make identity? And then when that identity is threatened, I suffer. The Buddha had this phrase, I-making and mind-making. And this is how we suffer. This is how we get caught. If I took that person's pistachio latte, they'd be very upset with me. You took my pistachio latte. And they'd have a point. But looking at our experience through these 5 skandhas can provide a real kind of disenchanting way of looking at our experience. We can look at our experience and say, oh, there's actually no self in there. There's no Franz in any of these things. Briefly, maybe you are familiar with the simile of the flower. What is a flower? A flower is seed plus time plus water plus sun plus wind plus soil, plus 100 other things that I'm not qualified to mention. There's no flower in any of those things. But if you take any one of them away, there's no flower, right? This is the same with the 5 skandhas. The Buddha invites us to look at our experience with a model where we can see there's no me in any of these individual things. There's no me in form, right? A dear friend of mine recently lost a significant portion of his leg, but he's still him. People encounter, have terrible accidents, and huge chunks of their body go back. I mean, I'm aging right now. systems are breaking down, but I'm still me. So am I in my leg or my arm or my toe or my hair or, no, I'm in none of those things. So this noticing where we get attached in our experience, this 5 skandhas model can be helpful for us. Just having it in our back pocket even, of like watching our experience. And these 5 skandhas you can look up anywhere and get a nice chart and a nice map. So next time next time I'm getting upset, I'm like, oh, am I attaching to something in the 5 skandhas? Am I attaching to my volition? Like I wanted to do something and now I can't? And now I'm frustrated about it? Or like on my sit, my knee hurt so bad on the sit, and it felt like a big intractable thing and I was collapsing around it. But actually there's no suffering in the knee. There's just pain. Suffering comes along after when I make it a big deal, or freak out, or try to resist. So, thus ends the diagram portion of the talk about the 5 skandhas. Does anybody have a question about the 5 skandhas informationally only, like as a concept? And like I said, type in Skandhas and you will find a lot of really smart people, smarter than me, people who have made charts and talks and diagrams about it. It's really fascinating way of thinking about it. So, when the Buddha was talking about the skandhas, he used a lot of different ways of trying to get his students to kind of loosen their grip on the I-making and mind-making. My hair has started to turn gray, and I'm having a little bit of a flip out about it. I don't like it. It's okay. I can not like it. But if I'm creating suffering for myself and those around me because my hair is turning gray, that's a skandha out of balance. That's me getting knocked out of equanimity and kindness and compassion by a changing physical event. You know what physical events and physical things always do? Anybody? What does everything in the whole universe do constantly? It changes. So, one way the Buddha would try to talk to his students about this kind of learning how to be less attached to how things are right this very second. They'd be sitting in a forest and he'd say, students, look at these trees. Look at the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of leaves on these trees. If someone were to pick up all these leaves and take them away, would you say, oh, they're taking me away? Like, no, that's silly. You say, great. If someone were to come into this grove and insult the trees, would you say, oh, this terrible person, let's yell at them and strike them because they're insulting me? They say, no, they're just yelling at the trees. I say, students, when someone comes to you and yells at you and insults you, are they saying anything about you? Can you be found in their words? Can you even be found in the things that they're telling you about? Like, let's say someone comes up and said, Franz, your dharma talks are terrible. What they're telling me is, hey, I don't care for your dharma talks. That's actually wonderful. Thank you for telling me. They're telling me something about them. They're not telling me anything about me. So, it's easy for me, maybe not for you, but it's easy for me to go through my life and take things really personal. And they're just the skandhas. They're just mental and physical formations coming together and falling apart moment by moment. I don't need to take it personal. Once there was a person named Bahia. Maybe you're familiar with the Bahia Sutta. And the Buddha didn't have time to give him the whole giant chart and packet that comes with the 5 skandhas. Bahia said, can you teach me the Dharma in brief? Life is uncertain and fragile. Bahia was a very old person. And the Buddha said, yes, Bahia, I will teach you the Dharma in brief. Let whatever is felt just be felt. Let whatever is heard just be heard. Whatever is seen just be seen. Whatever is tasted just be tasted. And whatever is smelled just be smelled. Bahya, let whatever is cognized or felt just be cognized and felt. Bahya, when you are not when you're not clinging to or attached to what is seen or heard or felt or thought, etc., then you won't be in those things. And you won't be here, and you won't be there, and you won't be anywhere at all. This is an important thing for the Buddha to again and again notice, that when we get hooked, when we cling, when I get hooked, when I cling, when I tighten my grasp, when I attach my selfhood, when I create an identity around a thing, around a process, around a flow of natural phenomenon, that's where I suffer. And if I can rest and let go, and just let whatever is arising arise and pass away, that's when suffering unravels and falls apart. So, I invite, this is the midpoint of the talk. I invite your comments, questions, challenges, and protests. Yes, sir.
It's a bit off topic, maybe, but
I don't know.
You kind of reminded me of the ship of Theseus.
100%. Okay, wait. Bring everyone into the circle.
Okay.
So what I was talking about reminded him of the ship of Theseus. What's the ship of Theseus?
So it's this philosophical story about a boat, and they replace one part of the boat, one piece at a time. They replace the mast, the deck, the hull, whatever. And then eventually you have two ships. Which one's the ship of Theseus anymore? At what point does the ship of Theseus, the one that you've been replacing things? At what point is it not the ship of Theseus, and then which one? Now you have a whole new boat made out of all the old pieces, and now you have two boats that could be called the ship of Theseus.
Well, even more complicated, even worse, you have one boat.
Yeah.
That is not the ship of Theseus anymore. So this comes from if this didn't actually happen, this has certainly happened enough times throughout history where you have this is the actual ship Theseus sailed when he journeyed to the Minotaur and did this whole thing. This is that hero's ship. But over time, because you know how the ocean loves to eat ships, you have to replace this plank and that line and that gunwale and that sail. And after 300 years, there isn't a single original piece of that ship. So then the question goes, so you go there and you pay your 5 gold pieces to go see the ship of Theseus, and you're like, wait a minute, is that the ship of Theseus? Why, yes, give me your money. But you've replaced every piece. Yes, but it's the ship of Theseus. So similarly, there isn't a single cell in your body, which this still blows my mind completely, there isn't a single cell in any of our bodies that was there 7 years ago. I know, right? My knee still hurts. What the hell is up with that? But apparently it's a brand new knee. So humans are prone to get trapped and caught by words and concepts, even more so when they're dear to us. I'm like this, and I'm like that, which is really problematic when someone says, no, you're not, or, whatever. So great point. The ship of Theseus, is it the original ship? The therapeutic view that I would argue the Buddha brings is, well, if you're attached to it being the same ship, then it's not. But the real answer is, don't know. Impossible to tell. So, great point. That is very much like the ship of Theseus. And it's, again, the ship of Theseus in name only.
In your words, but the actual application is a life's work or something. So it's just, it's not, 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 it's not wild to like hear this instruction that is so simple. Yet perhaps it's the ego, like no, like I'm not letting go of that, or it's just so interesting how simple the instruction is and how complicated we make it and fight against it and continue to suffer until we put the sword down.
Right?
Put the ego to the side.
I can't tell you how grateful I am that you find it simple. And in one way it really is. There's no problem with perception. Perception's not a problem. Who could have an issue with perception? There's no problem with volition. There's no problem with form. There's no problem with consciousness. But so much of our lives' suffering can be located in these completely natural, ordinary processes that arise and pass away second by second. So Kelly makes a great point, which is, these instructions can be simplified even further. Like the 5 Skandhas and the entire Dharma in brief gets presented to Bahia like, whatever happens in the 6 senses, happens in the 6 senses. Don't make it weird. Don't get attached. Don't try to locate yourself there and then cling to it. Being a nice person isn't a bad thing. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to go through life. Practicing kindness and compassion, that's wonderful. But when someone tells me, you're not actually kind or compassionate, and I lose my damn mind, and I fly off into an existential crisis, that's a problem. So being kind and compassionate isn't a problem. Me identifying as a kind, compassionate person, like the official ship of Theseus, that's a problem. So as always, there's these really evocative, poetic places in the suttas. When I say suttas, this is the kind of oldest strata of recorded teachings of the historical Buddha. There's all these places in the suttas where the Buddha talks about anywhere you attach, anywhere you cling, anywhere you I make or mind make, that's where Mara grabs you. Anyone here in the room not familiar with the idea of Mara? Thank you so much. I love talking about Mara. So Mara is like the Buddhist boogeyman. Mara is like our kind of internalized, misogyny, classism, racism, and even more dangerous are kind of internalized self-criticism, our natural tendency as a animal walking around with sentience, with consciousness. It's our natural kind of dualizing tendency. I'm here and you're there. And, I'm like this and you're like that. So the Buddha talks about Mara like, if you can remain open, if you can stay open and available, which you always are, your awareness is always open, available, and infinitely hospitable. But when I grab onto something, that's where Mara grabs me. In fact, there's this beautiful word, upadi, or upadana, which in the Pali, this is like, the Buddha had this idea that when I pick something up, it picks me up. So look, I'm using my hand to grab my delicious beverage. That's wonderful, especially if I'm thirsty. But now, what can my hand do? My hand is constrained by the shape of the beverage. This is how consciousness is. When we grab for something, it grabs us. And that's okay, because look, I can grab it, now I can drink, now I can put it down. That's fine. But humans have a tendency not to put things down. We have a tendency to grab onto things and I make and mind make. And now we are like this or like that. Like How fast do your thoughts and feelings fly in and out of your heads, people? Like faster than light. Oh, I'll speak for myself. Faster than light. They swarm up like bees. They fly like birds. They're faster than lightning. But boy, my grudges and upsets and hurts really stick around for a long time, don't they? And when I forget that they're just, I'm putting them there, they're mine, I'm deciding to hold on to them, I kind of prevent them from being their natural way, which is arising and passing away second by second by second. So these simple instructions, yes, simple, and you can even kind of make them simple for yourself. My simple instruction to myself is, hey, what are you doing? What's going on right now? If I'm lucky, if I catch myself, is that yours? Is that not yours? Drop it. I say, oh, I was doing a thing. The ancient Tibetan yogi Milarepa liked to say, my whole religion is not fooling myself. My religion is not tricking myself anymore. I've given it up. I don't do that anymore. I'm just present with experience as it arises and passes away second by second. When we are blessed by Tim's presence, he brings the Heart Sutra. And he chants the Heart, and we all chant the Heart Sutra together. And of course, the Heart Sutra has that beautiful, profound teaching of emptiness. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. This is so profound, and is so simple and so profound, it takes a lifetime to embody, enact, and carry out. But just on a simple level, whenever I'm grabbing onto something and making it solid, making it have form, even just remembering, this is made of emptiness too. This is open and available too. Everything is shot through with space. And thank you, modern science, for teaching us that nothing ever truly touches. Everything is bound by energetic bonds. You know, the atoms in this bell are separated by vast, vast differences. These atoms never truly touch. They never make contact. Everything is made of space and form, emptiness and form. So how much more so our feelings, my feelings, my thoughts, my ideas, my grudges, my hurts, etc. They're also empty, they're boundless, they're flexible, they flow like everything else does in this world. When we're on the cushion, it can be really helpful. When I'm on the cushion, it's helpful for me to kind of think about just resting as the awareness, the open, vast awareness like the sky. That way, when a thought or a sensation or a feeling arises that I don't care for, sky doesn't care if a cloud happens. And on another level, cloud is made of sky. So whatever arises and is free to flow and change and unravel and pass away, just like everything. I don't need to take it personal. If I'm sitting and I can't stop thinking about something and I'm like, you're not supposed to be thinking about that, you're supposed to be meditating. Again, I'm grabbing onto something that's essentially fluid, open, empty, and available. And I'm making it a thing, and I'm making it stick, and now I'm stuck to it. But you can always just open your hand. You can always just unclench, just relax. And that goes for everything that arises. So, briefly, Tim has this amazing way of turning everything into an instruction for our lives and into an instruction for how to live as a blessing in this world. The term that people in the Mahayana tradition like to use is bodhisattva. Someone who works for the elimination of suffering of beings. Someone who works for the awakening of themselves and all beings. So I'm just literally going to steal this and read it as is. Tim said, "And with encouraging people to experiment with what I'm talking about today. Don't take it on faith. The 5 skandhas are of limited usefulness as an idea or a map on a wall. They can be a way of understanding our embodied experience. Just notice your experience and just try to identify. What skandha is this happening in? Where is this happening? And is there a me there? Is there suffering in it? Do I need to attach to it? Relax, play with it, welcome your experience. Remember, we can only wake up in this body here and now. Seeing this deeply, we are liberated. Our joy is immediate." Has anyone here ever been really upset about something or really uptight about something, and then it was either a false alarm or something just shifted? And the thing was still real. Like the number of times I've gotten really uptight about some anxiety about primarily my children, and I just, oh, this is anxiety. And all of a sudden there's all this space. The anxiety hasn't magically been carried off. It doesn't go anywhere. It's still there. But I'm not wrapped tight like a drum around it. So, he says, our joy is immediate. And this, I love this. Like, you can feel when you catch yourself tightening around something, when you catch yourself eye-making and mind-making, when you take that up, you can feel when it lets go. Maybe take a breath. Maybe make yourself a little drill that you do. Deep breath and let go on the exhale. What I'm not saying is stop thinking about the thing. Stop worrying. That's what I'm saying. Just, can you hold it lightly? Can you meet it with kindness? He says, trust your experience. Once we are free and not pushed around and dragged around by our attachment, one more step is then necessary and possible. Then we can start to see the function of our karma. We can start to see the function of our attachments. My specific wounds in my heart make me an ideal person to talk to another person, to meet another person's pain in that area. My specific neuroses and trauma make me, when I have met them, when I have integrated them and balanced them in openness and emptiness, make me actually an ideal person to be like, hey, I know how that feels. I'm sorry. That sucks, I know. And be present to them. This is something I would not have said. This is directly from Tim. Seeing the correct function of our attachments is possible. Quote, how can I help? This is our great bodhisattva way. Our life is never only for me. Our life is always for all beings.
Hi, I'm Robert Lurie with Long Beach Meditation. Your gracious generosity makes this programming possible. If you found this video to be of value, please consider making a donation here. And if you'd like to watch more videos like this one, click here. And if you want to stay up to date with Long Beach Meditation, click here to subscribe. Thank you.